Hello and welcome to another fully live Q&A episode of Hacking with Friends. My name is Kody Kinsey. I am live at the RSA Security Conference with my friend Kilian, and today we're going to answer your questions about RSA and talk a little bit about the conference and what we've done so far. So I didn't schedule the stream very far in advance because these spots that we're in are basically first come, first serve. And people like to take selfies here.
Yes.
So we've been kind of competing with people taking like selfies in front of the background for most of the day. But we managed to find a good one that's also quite quiet. So we're happy to be joining you very riskily on the RSA's Wi-Fi network. So if you're a hacker that's at the conference, please be nice for the next like 30 minutes or so, because we are at the mercy of the Wi-Fi network here. So first question, how was RSA? I think you mean how is RSA?
True.
It is still ongoing. I just got here on Monday. I was going to try to get here on Sunday, but the whole city is full. Like there's no hotels that you can book. And it was crazy actually having to adjust my trip for that. But so far, I'd say it's pretty full. I always end up getting sick of these conferences. So like I'm wearing a mask and I'm like one of the only people who is. So it's very different from like the last one or the one before that where there was like very strict masking or there was like some sort of protocol. Aside from that, it's back to kind of like pre-pandemic, like kinds of things. Like there's a lot of very funny things I saw at the conference. So to answer your question, how was RSA? Let's start with some of the funnier things I've seen in RSA. So because we're doing this all kind of last minute, I have to show you the inside of how everything works. Let's switch real quick. All right. So this is some of the things I've seen. First off, I have to give a shout out to, of course, our sponsor, Veronis. This time they had, excuse the shaky hands on this, a claudimation thing where it goes down, it grabs a prize, and people seem like this guy seems stoked, right? Like he seems pretty excited. So that one seemed to be making people pretty happy. I also saw, oh, look, sorry, Kilian, look, it's you.
Oh.
Speaking of things that made people happy.
There we go.
Delighting people in his natural environment.
We got a little Inception going on.
But in stiff competition, and in number 2, we have the Chicken Man.
It's true.
I don't totally understand what the strategy was here, but I did take a video of him. So the Chicken Man, I have a personal, I have some personal feelings about the Chicken Man. I've made a game called the Chicken Man game. I didn't bring it up though. He seemed like he might have some opinions on it. So next up we have just straight up racing games. Like sometimes you'll see these people, they just want to unwind a little bit. So if you're a gamer, RSA might unexpectedly be the place to go, because I've seen a lot of people kind of employing these games to get people like excited and engaged. That was kind of fun. And then I also just have to give a shout out to OWASP Zap. I did a really fun open source class in Los Angeles, just teaching about web app security. It was a little capture the flag game that was based on their tool OWASP Zap. Whoa, okay, that again, sorry with the shaking hands. But it was really cool to see them here, and they've done a lot of really cool stuff for the community, a lot of free and open source stuff. So if you're looking for an alternative to Burp Suite, then they are really great. Then there's this guy. I don't totally know what his deal is, and he clearly can't see.
Right.
So yeah, they're very cool. And then finally, I have to say, these were the happiest people I've seen in the entire conference. Whatever, I don't know what they're gonna do with this video, but it seems like everybody's gonna enjoy it. And that's kind of, those were some of my highlights, I would say, from this RSA. So far, it's been a lot of fun, and it's interesting to see all these different brands kind of competing for attention, and some of them with their like possibly like unable to see DJ, a little bit interesting, and but others like the Chicken Man, stiff competition, I have to say. Yeah, to your own charms.
Listen, I'm thinking like next year I've got to have a mask or a helmet or something. I feel very left out. Everyone can see the front of my face and the back of my bald head. And like next year, mask, something. Everyone's tired of looking at me. It's okay.
So one question is, what's the coolest new stuff that we've seen? So obviously, like there's every time you go to RSA, there's buzzwords, and there's things that people are talking about. Like one thing that is always like you're gonna expect to see, like when you have ChatGPT coming out, is like a lot of like AI and a lot of like machine learning stuff. Now, what's interesting is this has been like a buzzword in marketing for quite some time, and a lot of people are just reshuffling their branding to bring this like up to the front. So, and then there's also some like newcomers or some people that like maybe don't even have a product. Okay, so this is what RSA is like. You walk through this giant tunnel of vendors, and some of them do not have real products yet. They're testing the waters, and they're just trying to get their first customer to prove to somebody who's going to give them money, if they can get 1 or 2 customers at this conference, that it's a good idea. So you could be dealing with people who have like a totally off the wall idea that might never work. And that doesn't prevent them from being here and pitching and making it seem as though they are a real company. So it's very draining sometimes to walk through these places and try to figure out like what these businesses do. But a lot of them seem to be focused on AI. They seem to be focused on automation and integrating like natural language kind of things into their products. But it is totally kind of watered down by like some random businesses that I can't tell what they do, but they have like, automation, AI, whatever, like sprinkled in everything. So yeah, it's kind of hard to tell, honestly. And you have to spend a good amount of time like talking to people and kind of figure out either by reputation or by just like interacting with them exactly who's legitimate and like kind of blowing up and who is just trying to find out if someone will buy their idea before really investing too much into it.
That's the thing, and we've always joked about it. We need to do like a conference bingo card with all of the buzzwords for every year, and we see that all the time. You're right. I think everybody has some sort of AI. Whenever 2020 was it, when we were here the last time live in person, at least I was, I think it was all crypto then. Like everybody had some type of crypto thing, some new security crypto something. And oddly enough, those folks I don't believe are here so much anymore. So one of the big words that I've seen, I don't know if you've noticed this too, aside from like ChatGPT and AI, is like DSPM. A lot of people have been moving to the cloud very quickly.
Yeah.
And that's like the buzzword. And it's the impression I think a lot of folks give is that it's a new thing, but it's really not. It's like you said, it's a repackaging of some of the stuff that we've seen for a couple of years. Really data security posture management, but it's really data security, and that's something that Kody, that I'm passionate about.
Yeah,
so it's interesting.
And frankly, like the RSA is full of acronyms. Like it's a bunch of things that have been like boiled down to explain technology in like kind of a branded sense to people who need to make purchase decisions. So like a lot of them are dealing with like compliance. Like a lot of the people here are like government agencies or like big businesses that like need to do regulatory compliance or other things in order to make sure that their businesses don't get hit with huge amounts of fines and fees. And we talk about the news every week where there's somebody new getting breached or whatever else. Like cybersecurity insurance and this other stuff like costs money and requires compliance to things that are now considered best practices. And these words are often a part of those best practices package. So they're like, all right, you need to go out and get a product that does this. You need to hit this acronym. So learning what these acronyms mean, learning like what part of the business they're necessary for and like how they deliver, like it's all part of the business education of going to RSA. Because I find like if you're a hacker who wants to come here and see like the latest cool exploit, you'll probably find some stuff. There are some cool talks here, but frankly, this is more of like a business education where you can see like how all the different parts of cybersecurity as an industry interact with each other, and then the people that make decisions, and then the people that report on them. So I spend a lot of time in the press room. I have a special badge. The cat doesn't come included. I made that, but I've been shopping it around. People seem to like it. I'm gonna try to make Varonis do like a little like hack your game or something with a circuit board next time. But I get the special content creator pass, which allows me to go back into the press room and talk to some of the people who are making media and reporting the news around cybersecurity. And frankly, like that's how I get most of my value out of the conference, like kind of like talking to other people that are deciding what's out there or what they think is the next thing. Like, so if you're somebody who likes kind of like networking and like finding out what other people's jobs are like, this is an amazing conference for that. It might not be the best like technical hacking conference, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, the way that I see it and the most value that I get out of it is you have people from all across the business, because I'm much more on the business side, and you get to see kind of the practitioners, kind of what they're thinking about from a more hands-on sense. So not quite hackery, but more practitioners. But then you also see business people, people from different departments, C-level people coming out here just to hear the way that they're approaching the way things are going in technology and how they're viewing the transformation in technology. We talk about cloud so much, and hearing the executives articulate the vision of kind of moving to the cloud, leveraging SaaS platforms, things like that, versus a practitioner who's doing the nuts and bolts and kind of getting down there to implement it. So it's really cool to see that end-to-end vision. So that the kind of guiding light, I guess you'll say, from the executives kind of down the chain, and how different departments like legal and compliance and some of the more traditional security folks are thinking about it and all kind of rallying around this. And it's a nexus point of that. It's really cool to see just the whole business community end to end in that sense.
Yeah, and sales. It's also like if you want to see what like billions of dollars worth of sales at the same time looks like, there's people whining and dining. There's people they're like putting on crazy mixers and events. Like it's all about facilitating like huge amounts of investments in products. So that's kind of why I like this conference. Again, it's like if you're an outsider, if you're coming in and want to get started with cybersecurity and understand how the business side of things work, if that's something that appeals to you, then this is a conference that really speaks to that, because you learn all the acronyms. You can see by the booth size, like you walk in, you know if you're on the wrong side of the hall if you can't turn around in a circle and see Varonis, because like you know that they're a major player. Like that's why just the positioning of some of these booths and stuff like lets you know that like they make major investments in the community and they're doing quite well. So a lot of people, they come here to find out who's doing well, you know, and kind of check in to see like what they're doing right. And I think that that's kind of what the value is. By the way, I have to acknowledge that this is a great Varonis shirt. So I finally been around at Varonis for long enough to have some rare Varonises in my closet. And this Lights the Breach, I had like 4 of them because I was like, this is the best one. And I stocked up on them. I'll see. Like maybe we could give them out as prizes or something. I have been getting a lot of feedback that like this is a great shirt and we should make more of them. So frankly, yeah, I will go back because Varonis really hit it out of the park with this one. And if we could give them away to people on the stream or something, like that would be really cool.
Yeah, that's a vintage shirt now, because that was from what, like a couple years ago, I think. What do we have this year? You can't unbreach data, and then automation domination. Is that the other one?
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one.
But I'm a little dyslexic, so sometimes I read it as like domination automation. I was like, it's so nice that they're getting sex positive at RSA. And I was like, oh wait, never mind. That's not what it's
That's
for.
A different conference.
Yeah, that's a different conference. Yeah, it's the one after this. But yeah, there's very funny shirts here that you can get in large numbers. I as a hacker, I find that like 60% of my shirts are from conferences, and this is where I get a lot of them. So I've been stocking up on the free shirts, and frankly, like the free food in the press room, like it is really nice to be here and be able to get stickers. Although I have to say, the government is very stingy on their stickers. Guess how many stickers I got from the FBI? 0. No stickers at all. And then the NSA gave me 3, and they were very strict about it. They watched me while I took them and audited to make sure that I took the correct amount. So my rare NSA stickers from last year are even rarer now. I only managed to get 3 from this conference. But if you know a vendor or somebody else who has stickers and you want them, let me know. I'll try to grab a bunch of them from the conference, and we give them out as prizes sometimes. So it'd be nice to add some to the sticker pack. But yeah, no, this I do have to admit, this shirt is wild, and this shirt is great. All right, so another question. So the push is still to the cloud. Any other general trends that people are following?
I mean, the overarching theme is the push to the cloud. It's, that train's left the station. It's not going back. It's kind of interesting, though, if we kind of think about it. The world is almost, secular. We're coming back around with the cloud. It's almost like the mainframe days. I mean, that predates me, but we have all these devices. They have a ridiculous amount of power, right? Our cell phones, our laptops, but they're almost dumb devices. They're almost those dumb terminals. And we've moved the processing power out to the cloud. We've moved it to multiple different cloud repositories, and then we've connected them all together. So that's the big theme I'm seeing this year, is just the interconnectedness of all of the different cloud applications, the infrastructure as a service, and how, I'm not going to say it was never easy, but it's even harder nowadays to see all of those connections. You might be using the SaaS app, but hey, the back end is an S3 bucket. You might be using Salesforce. You might be using some other custom application, but the back end is Salesforce, which is then storing data in Box. So it's so interconnected, and trying to unravel the layers and figure out what's actually going on to secure it is, people are catching on, and they're realizing just how difficult it is. Cloud is so much easier. You've gotten rid of a lot of the overhead of managing the infrastructure and the patching and all of that. You've transferred that away, but you can't transfer away, the responsibility of managing access, securing the data, securing these platforms. It's a shared responsibility model, and it's coming up so much more often now that cloud is top of mind for everybody.
So one other thing that is kind of unique about RSA and kind of unique about my job is that over at Varonis, we do a lot of research, and then we get to do research releases. So if you've ever done research releases, you know that they're emotional events. You've basically like told a company that they've made a mistake or that there's a problem with their service, and you're expecting them to be, a cool guy about it. You want them to be a team player, but they are not incentivized necessarily to be team players. Like they're incentivized to make sure that, they look good. So that always creates a fun little back and forth where sometimes we release something and people get mad, because like we've identified something and we want to release the research so we can teach people about how to spot these kinds of problems, but it's a very delicate dance. And we fight really hard to do these sorts of things. But also when we go to these conferences and then we have like a company that we've done like a research disclosure on, I feel like, the people at Google Project Zero probably have the same feeling sometimes where like they've done a release on something that like might not make the company look great in the moment, but it's really about how they respond to it, because like breaches are inevitable, so like it happens. But yeah, like potentially catching some side eye from a company that like has gotten mad at us for talking about research is definitely something that can happen at RSA. And I actually I blocked someone on Twitter that then met me in person in the press room and demanded that I unblock them. Not this year, but a couple years back. So there's always the possibility of running into people, funny people at the RSA conference, which it doesn't ever happen to every conference. So yeah, that's always been a little fun. Now that I'm involved in the research disclosures, there's certainly a lot more to talk about with some of these companies that we've shouted out before.
On the flip side to that, the nice thing about an industry event like this is you get to connect with all of your friends from across the industry. Just, Kody, I know we've been in the same place at the same time before, but we spent so much time streaming virtually. It's fun to be face-to-face on camera, despite the height differences. I'm much taller on video at home, but seeing all of my friends from throughout the company, throughout Varonis, and throughout other parts of places that I've worked in the past, and people who have moved to other organizations. So it's awesome to catch up and see all that. That's, I think, maybe my favorite thing about this is just making those connections, reestablishing the connections, catching up with people, and catching up with the technology and hearing what's out there and what's going on.
Yeah, that's why RSA is cool. Like getting to run into people, like I said, like people that I know who do press work and shoot video. Like we're all talking about like new tools like Descript and other things that make it easier for us to do video work. So it's like everybody's like nerding out about like how they do things at work and if there's any innovations, and like that's kind of the nice thing, because you can find a lot of peers who are like working on the same kind of stuff as you, and you can learn directly from what they've learned this year. So just like the casual setting to exchange information and then of course make deals.
Right.
That is really what's cool about this conference and why I enjoy it. And frankly, I have to give a shout out to like the PR and like media team here. Like they make it so easy for like, they have a new category called content creators, which I'm apparently part of. It's super easy to get accepted here. It's super easy to get access to be able to do interviews and other things. Like these are available, as I said, they're first come, first serve. So they're available for pretty much anyone. You can even just come here and get a selfie of yourself, I guess. But yeah, it's been really awesome to have the support to be able to stream here and interview here and do all the kinds of things that you would want to do either as a content creator, as a hacker, like, whatever. So, and yeah, there are good talks here. My thing is like, there's a lot of people I feel like who are paid to come here and talk about threats that are like completely known to the community and have been for some time because they help to sell a product. And then it's kind of sponsored by that company. And those are talks that I, as a hacker, don't like attending as much because like they're not as interesting to me. None of it's novel. It's not new. But there's also really wonderful people here who do novel research that's in the news all the time. I think I've caught up with like Patrick Wardle here and Matthew Van Hoff and some other like people that I mentioned, both in the news and then in some specific like breakout segments for the really cool research that they do. They do come to RSA. So you can find some really excellent people who are usually scattered around the country. And as Kilian said, you can, catch up with them, like find out what they're working on, what they're obsessed with right now. And that I think is kind of part of like staying on the bleeding edge of all of this is getting access to the culture and being able to ask like complete newbie questions about like, oh, how are you using AI at work? Like what parts of it are being replaced and what parts of it aren't being replaced? Like that's a really pertinent question for a lot of people. So just kind of asking around and asking like what parts of your job have been replaced by ChatGPT or other tools, like that's something that I've been doing a lot of, and I've been getting some kind of surprising results depending on who I'm asking. Like I asked like some friends who are in fashion, I'm working in media, and then we have people in marketing, people who are like more technical doing like, the actual like programming behind tools. Like there's lots of different stuff where AI is starting to creep in. So this is like the first chance where we kind of gotten to take the temperature, like, and find out like how much is AI really like changing the way the average person at all different levels does their job. And the answer seems to be like, it's touching everything, but it hasn't replaced anything completely yet, which is really cool.
Yeah, Kody, I did want to point out too. It's fun to be in this. This isn't a press area, but it's a filming area. We might have gone a little bit meta too, because I saw somebody walk by a second ago and take a picture of us recording live to everybody here. So we must be doing something right. If somebody else wants to take our picture of us doing our thing.
Right. Well, so I've been wearing this mask because, as I said, I live out in the sticks, and every time I go to conferences, I manage to get sick. Last RSA, I got pink eye.
Oh,
so
no.
I just don't want to get sick so bad this time. So I'm trying really hard. But I took off my mask for a second outside, and somebody recognized me from Nullbyte and took a picture with me, and I was like, that's kind of nice. I do really enjoy seeing people and talking to people, and anybody who's enjoyed the show, I want to be able to tell what I'm working on now and see how it affected them or see if I could have done something better or what they want next. I always question Nullbyte a little bit for whether or not it got people close enough to a job in security, because it gets people started, but it doesn't take you all the way, because I never got paid to do that. I was getting paid chicken scratch when I originally started doing these Nullbyte videos. So it was really hard for me to design a curriculum around a degree or a certification I don't even have. So if Nullbyte or Hack5 helped you, even though it might have been a little bit piecemeal in some places and designed to make it easy to start, good, let me know, because I often double second guess these decisions, and it's good to hear that it did resonate with people and that it ended up being helpful for getting them into a career or getting them just interested in this stuff. So thank you to everybody who's stopped me, said hello, or otherwise told me about how the content I've created has helped you or otherwise affected your career. That's really motivating for me, and it definitely makes me want to do more of it. So yeah, sometimes I have my headphones on, I'm very focused. You can tell me by the mask. I always have a bright mask on now at conferences. But you can always say hi. I never mind, unless I'm late for something. Usually the headphones are just on so that I don't get sales pitches left and right, at least at conferences like this when I'm in the vendor area. But yeah, very cool.
Kody, I am going to put you on the spot a little bit, because one of the biggest things I was looking forward to is seeing your hacking game this year, and it didn't work out, but could you talk us through what it was supposed to be and maybe get some people hyped up for it? We can try a V2 at some point in the future.
Yeah. So I usually have, so you guys probably, well, I've kind of creeped over a little bit. So you guys probably remember Michael. So Michael's now been hired at a local cybersecurity company, and he's doing his thing. But usually he's here with me, taking care of all the back end stuff and making sure stuff works. So I have now been having to do all the Michael jobs and all the me jobs at the same time. And eventually I was just this is stressing everyone out. It's stressing me out. It's stressing the people running this booth out. And also the layout of the booth has changed. So it's not I can just pull everything out of storage and plug it right in. I have to run it through this risky little computer. So overall, I decided, let's maybe do it on a slow day, maybe do it tomorrow. So if you came by the booth and you were hoping to do the Wi-Fi hacking job, hopefully you saw all the other great stuff we had, including the Claudimation machine.
Yes.
But I just the people who put on the booth worked so hard to make it look nice that when I plugged it in and set it all up this morning, I just looked at it this is a monstrosity. I don't even know how we're going to get the cables out. So the way it was going to work is I have 2 Raspberry Pis that have keyboards coming out, and they're command line only Raspberry Pis, and we have a split screen, and each player gets one of the Raspberry Pis basically to control. I have I basically have a microcontroller that's generating Wi-Fi handshakes every 10 seconds. And each game, I reset it to have a different password. So the game is, or the flag that people are trying to get is the Wi-Fi password. And what they have already loaded onto Kali Linux is, of course, AirCrackNG and a bunch of password lists. And on one of those password lists is the correct password. So the game is, first they have to put their card into wireless monitor mode. They have to do a scan to identify the target and what channel it's on. They have to change the command to put the scan on the channel that the target is broadcasting on. And then once they capture the handshake, they pick a password list to brute force on. If they pick wrong and the password isn't on that password list, then they have to pick again. So the game takes about 15 minutes to play. And originally I also had it so they had to take the password and then log in and press a button and the lights would go off. But in RSA, there's so many wireless devices that part didn't work. Everything else worked, where we're just receiving and whatever. But once we tried to create a stable Wi-Fi connection with an IoT device on the floor of RSA, it's just not going to happen. It just doesn't work. So I dumbed it down a little bit in terms of just making it, as soon as you get the password, you win. But that was it. And it seems like a straightforward game until you get into the production side.
Right.
So how do you cast to a normal size screen with a split screen from 2 Raspberry Pi computers? Well, you would think the answer would be obvious, but I'll tell you after the last 2 weeks, it's not as obvious as you think. We kind of sort of got something together and the Raspberry Pis are prepped and ready, but frankly, the time that we just had 2 screens that were independent, one on top of the other, was so perfect for this game that it's honestly kind of a shame that we have to bundle it, cut off parts of the screen, whatever, to make it fit. So while I really enjoy this game, I'm actually thinking of another game for next year. So I have this little cat PCB that I've been walking around and just seeing if people like. And I thought it would be really fun if this was kind of like a laser tag style game where you could get one of these and you could play a game with it where you're like zapping other people's badges and getting points and changing their badge to your badge's color, and maybe even keep the tuning part where you can like tune it to like whatever color you want. And then at the end of the conference, whoever gets the most points wins some sort of prize. So we have like a little game that goes along with it, and it would be kind of customizable where you could like pick the color, you could pick the shape, and then maybe like pick a power up or like the color of the eyes or something initially. So I think people have really enjoyed things you can customize, things you can like work with, like touch with your hands, and then also things that facilitate interactions with other people.
Yeah.
So I would love to do a game like that because for one, it doesn't mean it means I don't have to be standing there with a bunch of HDMI cables, like trying to like do a little presentation. It means I can give these out, do a little bit of support on them, and maybe have a couple of friends who are like doing soldering or something to help put the finishing touches on like the optional parts that they can customize. But honestly, like it's fun. I've talked myself into wanting to do it. So if you have any feedback on that, if you like the idea, let me know. I personally would love to play like a conference game with these badges, especially if they're like super low cost and they're fun and personalizable. So yeah, those are my ideas. Trying to revive this game in a way that's a little bit less of a production nightmare, and then also trying to make a little badge-based game that's cheap and fun and lets people win an even bigger prize as they play the game. So I really admire how much like DEF CON badges are performance art in the shape of a badge. They're a piece of technology that's designed to facilitate an interaction with people who might not otherwise talk to each other. So I would love to, riff on that culture and like try to make my own version of it. So that's what I was kind of thinking of maybe doing for like an RSA or maybe a Black Hat promotion, something like that.
Well, Black Hat is in August, so we've got a couple months to try it. I'm just committing you right here live on the internet to make some magic and come up with this. And that was last time I was on the stream because I made Kody have to make badges in 2 months.
Hey, all right, comment. Hey there, what's good? The weather in San Francisco is really good. I just came from Los Angeles where it's 84 degrees. It is too hot, but here it's a really nice mix. It's like you can wear an outfit. You don't have to just wear shorts. Like Los Angeles had already tipped into like just wearing shorts all the time weather for me. So it's nice to retreat a little bit back into something that's a bit more comfortable. But yeah, nice to see you. Also, the RSA conference is pretty cool. I'm personally loving the press room. The vendor floor is very busy. Yeah. There's lots of people there. But I've got to run into some people that I've covered their stuff, I just know they do a lot for the community. So it's been nice to talk to people, except the FBI. The FBI didn't give me any stickers. So calling you out, I know you have them. I saw them, and you should have given them to me because now look at the social. This is a PR disaster. All right. Yes. This is. Oh, somebody misses Michael and his cryptozoology. Yes, our cryptozoology expert Michael is now a hardworking man working at a local cybersecurity company. I don't remember what it's called, but he'll tell me. And good luck to him. He was excited to start and have a different role that allows him to get more hands-on because as kind of like a quasi-production person, he always did want to get more hands-on with stuff because unfortunately the number of cryptozoology fans we have on the show is slightly fewer than the number of hacking fans we have on the show, although there is a substantial amount of overlap. As a Venn diagram, right. There's a lot going on there. So I'm sorry that our cryptozoology related content has taken a nosedive, but hey, I have a Sasquatch sticker on my car. I'm a big supporter. I'm going to shout out Sasquatch on TikTok. If you're looking for more cryptozoology content, there's nothing finer. But yes, well, we will try to sprinkle it in as we can, but Michael was the one who's responsible for that. And this is actually my first RSA without Michael, I think in 3 years. Yeah. So it's very weird being here without my crew because typically I do have the cryptozoology expert to help me figure out both that and then other things at the conference, like rigging the game and making sure it works. So it's definitely a little strange, this conference. Okay, so one person also says that they're a noob starting InfoSec. My site has been a great resource. Yeah, thank you. And we're going to continue to keep making more beginner-friendly content because I feel like that's really where there needs improvement. There's not a lot of stuff out there that's fun, that's interesting, and short enough to try in one day that teaches you fundamentals. I kind of feel like I should get a little bit better at aligning it with certain certifications or degrees or stuff just because it makes it easier for you to go on to get a job. But frankly, if it gets you excited about this stuff, then I think it is good. Mm-hmm. So I'm really glad to hear that. All right. So we are coming up on like 30 minutes or so, and this place is first comes first serve. So we might need to go in a little bit. But if you have any further questions about the RSA conference, if you have any questions about cybersecurity careers, current trends, what else? There's so much to talk about here. Being press or being a content creator at one of these conferences, or also just generally like what going to conferences are like, and whether it's or not it's worth it to go. Let us know in the chat, because we'll answer. And if you're watching this on repeat and your question didn't get answered, then we're also going to be going live on Friday, and I will take some time to, or at least I'm going to try to go.
I think I'll be on a flight at that point.
Yeah. So I will try to go live and talk about all, the different things that we didn't get a chance to answer live on the stream, because I know I didn't schedule this because I wasn't sure if we'd get the spot or not. But yeah, it's good to see people in the chat, and it's also good to see people in person. I know I've run into some other content creators here as well that are like scoping things out and trying to find out like what the next thing is. So if you're one of the content creators that I talked to here, then it was really cool seeing everyone. I frankly am excited to go on some other people's streams and maybe have some guests on. I talked to one guy who was very specifically into networking and Wireshark, which is something I've been dying to get into more. So yeah, I've been making a lot of great connections here, and you can look forward to hopefully some more like heavy networking and Wireshark stuff in the near future, because it's been some of the most popular stuff I've showed off.
I guess just as we're waiting for questions to come in, I mean, I will pre-answer the question of, are these conferences worth going to? And from my perspective, absolutely. But you have to know what you want to get out of it first.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking for more of the hands-on hacker content, RSA might not be the right one for you. That was probably more of a black hat or definitely a DEF CON. But if you're new to cybersecurity in the corporate world, trying to, move up, figure out what's going on, this is absolutely a great conference to be at. I always love coming here to see what's new every year, what the trends are, what everybody's talking about, having the conversations with the people in business, the practitioners, press, even, what are they asking about? What are they interested in hearing about? And kind of setting my expectations for the year in some ways, like what are the trends coming up? What's the next big thing? And, we stay on top of it, as a company as well. But it's interesting to hear the industry and how they're approaching kind of what's going on and how things are evolving. So it's an exercise in expectation setting, because, this is great for kind of the business side of the house, definitely.
All right, we have a question. And that question is, are you going to start any games again? And what do you think about the Discord? So I've been thinking about doing a Discord for quite some time. I keep stopping because I'm like, man, like all the good Discords are like set up so well. All this planning goes into it. There's this like nice experience that happens when you come in where it like tells you the rules and like you have to acknowledge it. It's just like so well prepared. And I just want to open it and like have mods I trust like help fill it in. But like having a plan or a vision, I feel like is so important. So I've been delaying. I promised I would do it. And then I opened it up and I was just like, what is the mission? Like how do I route people? I started thinking about the user experience. I'm just like, this is so much work. And I stopped, but I will do it. I've decided to do a Discord server. And the reason is we have so many questions. We have so many things that the community answers. It's frankly amazing how many people are willing to like turn around and before I even get a chance to answer it sometime, like actually give out very useful technical advice that I might not even be qualified to give. Like some of the people in our audience are frankly fantastic at this stuff and have been watching forever and learning about some things maybe they haven't touched before, but maybe they know the exact answer to your question already. So just giving that place a community to go is something I've decided needs to happen, and I will do, I promise. I just want to do it right. I would feel bad if I set it up and then it just was a failure because nobody bothered to think about your experience going into it and what it's like for you when you log in with the question or you log in and you want to find more content. Like I want to make it so it's really easy to do a couple of things. So if you're someone who's good at Discord, let me know. You can hit me up in my DMs on Twitter. I am definitely looking to do it soon, and I could definitely use some advice on like whatever would make it easy to do that. I'm not sure if I want to have a bunch of bots or whatever, because they can go rogue and mess up your server. But frankly, like having some people who set it up to make it a nice experience for beginners, like really it's supposed to be welcoming. It's supposed to make people feel comfortable and know exactly where to get started. So that's my expectation with the Discord server. And I'm sorry I haven't created one publicly yet. I know I said I would, but I just want to make sure I at least meet that minimum expectation of making it a good experience for people who go for the first time.
Kody, so you're saying you don't trust ChatGPT to run your Discord server?
No. In fact, like there's a lot of Discord bots that like have caused problems because they get hijacked or can go rogue. So yeah, Discord bots are problematic sometimes if you don't know how they work, if they're not your bot, like they can be changed in a supply chain attack. I don't hate Discord. I just haven't seen a Discord community that's run well except for the Adafruit one. There are a couple exceptions, but I've just found so many other like dead, like uninteresting Discord servers that aren't maintained well or don't deal with like toxic like posting well or don't have policies well. Frankly, it takes a lot of time and energy to run a good Discord server. And when I see one, I remember it. But I also know what dead, like servers that like people really don't pay much attention to look like. And I think that they're sad. So like shooting a Discord server in the face that didn't work out is always a sad task. And I just don't want to do it, if I don't have to. And I think good planning is really what makes that possible, to not have to do that. So I don't hate Discord, but I do acknowledge that pulling off a good Discord server is quite a doing, and I want to make sure it's done right. Okay, cool. Sorry, I'm kicking the microphone. We have some volunteers to potentially help set up the Discord server. Cool. Hit me up on Twitter. It's just my name. I think it's, wait, if I hide this, will it just come up? Maybe not. It's just at Kody Kinsey. But yeah, hit me up on Twitter if you're interested. I will set it up. I'm gonna have more free time the last day or so at RSA. So maybe that'll be my other thing I do at RSA is set up the Discord server and make sure that it's run properly. Okay. All right. So I think we have another question. Broad scope. Is it better to know a bit of a lot or a specialist in a few? That is, that's really funny because that was a conversation I was having with my friend Deb Radcliffe, who is now an author who wrote a book called Breaking Backbones, I believe. Like, I'm going to go to her book signing after this. She's great. But she used to be like a SANS analyst, and now she's like transitioned to book writing. And like, she has so many like general skills. She knows a little bit about everything. And that's really why she knows so much about the industry as a whole. Like, she's dipped her toe in like everything and really knows, from soldering to selling to investigative journalism. Like, she's really done it all. So people like that, to me, are fantastically valuable. Like, they really have like a lot of experience in a broad scope, but they don't really go super deep in any one. Specialists, when you need something done and you need them to have a deep understanding of it and know all the details, are also priceless. So it's really two very different worlds, but people who love what they do and could do it all day generally become specialists. And then people who, get bored with projects and want to move on and learn something new, they become generalists. Neither one of them is absolutely the best way to do it. It really depends on your learning style and personality. If you hate sticking with the same thing for a year, 2 years, maybe being a generalist like would be a better personality fit for you. Because there are people who just love something and understanding it, being excellent at it, and they tend to be better generalists because they don't find it tedious. They really are able to stick at something and not get bored with it. So it's a really good question.
Yeah, no, and I've seen that kind of in the long arc of my, corporate career, where it's kind of gone back and forth between the two. For a while, the kind of the push in the corporate world was to hire a bunch of specialists that did, the one thing. And after a while, what they realized is that there was like a knowledge gap and a skill shortage because everybody was so specialized that they had to start moving back the other direction to get people to fill in some of these, because you couldn't have a person for everything. And we've all, since forever, we've had to do more with less, and it was hard to keep up on that. Now we've kind of moved back to a generalist type of model, but however, especially with the cloud, if you think your AWS, your Google, or your Microsoft, these are all very specific ecosystems, and they evolve so quickly. And that's tough because I'm a little bit more on the generalist side, and I'll log into Google or AWS to do something. I'm like, wait a minute, like this has changed, like things have evolved, and it takes a lot more. So there is something to be said about that, to pick something like that and be a specialist. Again, especially if you want to go in the corporate world, it changes so quick. You have to be on top of it constantly.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you have like Salesforce creds, like if you know how to like run Salesforce and you can stay on top of all the changes and use like all the plugins and power ups and stuff, like you just have like built-in job security. Like, so there's so much of an ecosystem for specialists that like if you love a particular piece of technology, it resonates with you, like you like to go deep, like that's all stuff that like is really well rewarded. But if you're somebody that gets bored to death of that sort of thing, coming into an industry with background experience that helps you do something that usually they have to hire 2 or 3 people to do, that's fantastic. Like that really buffs up your resume and makes it look like you are a much better hire, because you can be flexible with your work and you can take on tasks that would be totally outside the scope of what the person who's a specialist would accept or really should be asked to do.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right, so I think that we're coming up on the end of our stream. I want to thank everybody who's been spontaneously live with us in the chat. Again, we set this up on an on-demand kind of basis, so I'm just glad that we managed to grab the spot. But if you're here, I will be back and forth at the booth for the next day. I'm going to be for the rest of the day today and then also tomorrow. So I'm going to try to do our game on the slower day. So if you're looking around San Francisco still, I'm gonna take a stab at trying to do the Wi-Fi hacking game because I put so much time into like setting it up and stuff. But I just like refuse to stress anybody else out about connecting all these Raspberry Pi computers when like some of my equipment is also making it unnecessarily complicated. So it'd be great to see some of you guys if you're around. Otherwise, I will be back on Friday to answer the questions I didn't get a chance to answer and also to go over the hacking news. So also everyone knows that I love like PR disasters, and this year I haven't actually seen any. I think I spoke to you guys about how a couple years back somebody staged a fake protest at RSA pretending to demand automation, and it caused the conference to eject the person who like sanctioned it, which was a big deal. Like if you are a PR company and you get your client kicked out of the conference, like that's pretty bad. This year I saw some people very like from the conference very sternly talking to somebody dressed as like Dorothy and the Tin Man. Outside, and that was the extent of the drama that I saw from people doing illicit or at least like against policy marketing adventures. So I will pass any along on Friday if I see any truly epic like pieces of drama at the conference. But so far, the Tin Man was the extent of the drama that I've seen. All right. Oh, also PW says check out the human booth. It's supposed to be really cool. Okay, yeah, I will. Frankly, I'm on the hunt for all sorts of interesting things to do. I know there's some more technical stuff here that I missed like a couple years before and some other hackers introduced me to. So if you're at RSA and if you know of any cool stuff to do, I saw somebody else with the Blinky badge and I was interested in where it came from. So please let me in on the secrets. I would love to know. All right, so that's all we have for this stream. Thank you to everybody who has been along for the ride and asking questions. And again, if you're watching this on repeat, make sure to go ahead and leave it in the comments because I'll go through on Friday and make sure that we answer. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time.